Well, thanks all for coming today. Today is day 2 of the Mayor's Environment Expo, a great program every year where almost 4,000 students come to the City of Calgary, not only to learn more about environmental initiatives, but more important, to learn about what each of them can do to make the environment better in their school, in their neighborhood, and in the city. And I'm always excited to meet the eco-leader schools. This year, about 20 schools came forward and have spent the entire school year working on projects, everything from encouraging recycling in their neighborhoods to learning more about Calgary's diverse ecosystems to figuring out things that they themselves can do in order to make the environment better and to change the world. And today, day 2 of the Environment Expo, we have a number of students from grades 3 to 6 who are doing remarkable projects that I'm looking forward to learning more about. Sorry, what?
Why is it important?
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I just heard this disembodied voice. It's really important because, you know, the mantra of the environmental movement is think global and act local. And in fact, what the Environment Expo helps us do is help us think global, act global, and think local and act local. I'll give you a little bit of a segue. One of the meetings that I had in New York this week was with the Canadian ambassador to the United Nations, and we had a long conversation about the Sustainable Development Goals, which will become the world's major goals and targets after the General Assembly meets in September of this year. And we had a very good conversation about the role of local governments in helping reduce poverty and helping increase environmental sustainability in the developed and in the developing world. So the kinds of work that these kids are doing today have implications not just in their schools and in their neighborhoods, but indeed everywhere in the world.
Can what they're doing be stressed to their parents? Like, we've got these guys, can they sell to their parents?
That's sort of the idea. You know, every one of these kids will become an evangelist for local activities that we can do in order to make the environment better in our community. And so 3,800 kids coming through here, that equals maybe up to 8,000 almost parents who will be hearing a lot about the environment this week. And that will continue to increase environmental awareness throughout our city. Okay.
Can I change the topic slightly?
Sure. Scott.
Tell us what you accomplished on the trip.
You know, it was actually a remarkably interesting short mission. I basically was working on 3 different areas. The first was to speak with investors, to really talk a lot about the political and economic environment here in Calgary, to get a sense from them on whether they're optimistic about the future, whether they're continuing to invest here, but also to encourage them to be optimistic about the future and continue to invest here in Calgary. The second was to do the rounds of financial media, so exactly the same thing, to share the story of Calgary and the work that we're doing here, again, to increase confidence and optimism. And then the third was just to spend some time with Calgarians and those who know Calgary well. We had a very successful reception for University of Calgary alumni and talk to them a little bit about opportunities to come home, as well as opportunities to invest and increase here. So the meetings were really quite remarkable. Some of the largest public equity firms in New York. Everyone is interested in Calgary. Everyone has people coming to Calgary every 2 weeks. A number of them actually are kind of excited that our vacancy rate has a bit of a blip at the moment in downtown office buildings. It's giving them the opportunity to set up a permanent presence here in Calgary. So my message, what I learned was that people are not particularly worried about where we are in the economic cycle. They continue to look for opportunities to invest. They continue to actively be in the Calgary market, and they are long-term bullish, not just on the oil sands, but on natural gas and on conventional and deep basin oil here in Calgary, as well as in other sectors like commercial real estate and transportation and logistics. Number 2, everybody knows about the new provincial government in Alberta. It has received a fair bit of play, and people had a lot of questions about what that means, what is going to happen to the province, and I was able to give my best perspective on that. But interestingly, a lot of these investors are hearing from their portfolio companies that are based here in Calgary a message of, we're going to be great, we're going to work with the new premier, things are moving forward, and we're looking forward to having a lot of policy clarity to help us make future investment decisions.
What is your best perspective on that?
On my best perspective, you know, look, I'm the mayor. I'm always optimistic. You all know that. But in this case, I'm genuinely optimistic, especially having spoken with these folks about their plans. You know, we have to work hard on providing clarity. We have to ensure that a royalty review is done expeditiously and has the right people around the table. But these folks told me very clearly, look, royalty reviews happen all the time. The royalties in Alberta are way below what we're paying in most places in the United States. The land regime in Alberta, where we're leasing land from the Crown instead of private landowners, is a giant strategic advantage for investing in Canada and investing in Alberta. So I was feeling very, very good about what they were saying. As always, they're saying, look, we can't put in hundreds of millions or billions of dollars unless we can run our numbers, and we can't run our numbers without having the royalty rates to slide in. But they were not at all concerned about a giant compression of margins or this being an uneconomical place to invest. And I heard over and over and over again, we are not worried about the price of oil. We know how to invest in energy through the business cycle. So this was very, very, very useful for me to hear and learn all of this. Want to hear one fun thing? I learned something brand new when I was in New York that I've never known before, which is there is a new potential area of strategic advantage for Canada that I have never spoken about before, and it's a good advantage for Southern Alberta, and that is, are you ready for this? Sugar. The world prices of sugar are going up, and in the US they're going up particularly. The price of sugar in Canada is about 1/3 of what it is in the United States at this moment, meaning that very, very large international confectionery companies are looking to set up chocolate and candy factories here in Canada because they can get skilled labor, they don't have to worry about any political risk, and the input prices are so low. Wow, so I'm going to be spending some time talking chocolate, I think.
One last topic, and then we need to move on to the kids.
Another topic then, city charters. Why do you still believe the city charter is a good idea for Calgary?
Why wouldn't I believe that?
Well, what are the advantages to Calgary?
Well, you know, as the city continues to grow, as you all know, we continue to have pressure in managing growth and providing the services that people need. And we have to move beyond the society where the city of Calgary, which as you all know is larger than each of 5 provinces, has the exact same authority, powers, responsibilities, and sources of revenue as Coaldale, Alberta. Coaldale's a beautiful place, but they have very, very different responsibilities than we do here. So I'm very, very confident that our new provincial government agrees with all the other parties in the legislature, because every one of them has said, we need new legislation, we need a new city charter. It's not going to solve the world. And the truth is in the details of what is in that charter. You know, interestingly, I met with the president of the borough of Brooklyn when I was in New York. Brooklyn, of course, being a few times larger than the city of Calgary. And they were talking to me about the challenges they have with their charter in New York, which of course dates back, if I'm not mistaken, to the 1970s. So a charter is not just a piece of paper. It's not going to solve everything, but it will give us the ability to be able to move forward in a new kind of relationship with the provincial government, and more importantly, a new kind of relationship with citizens. So your agenda for the next mayor's meeting in Edmonton? You know, given the political cycle, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities meeting and the Big City Mayors meeting that happens at the same time in Edmonton are going to be really focused on federal politics. They're going to be focused on the upcoming federal election and the role that cities will play. A lot of people around the country are very interested in the work we've done here with Cities Matter. So we'll probably see a national version of that. In fact, the Big City Mayors have already launched a website encouraging people to start talking about civic issues. Over the course of the FCM meeting, we will hear from Minister Oliver, we'll hear from all the other party leaders. We'll have the opportunity to really press them on what they're thinking and encourage them to be bold on funding infrastructure, and particularly on reducing people's commutes and on figuring out how every Canadian will have a safe and decent place to live. So housing, transit, transportation will be the key things that we'll be working with them on.
Thanks, everybody. We need to...